From common societal parlance now, what manhood is about is show of wealth. Doesn't matter how it's gotten. There's no system of delayed gratification. All I want to do is to deliver. But actual manhood is the process counts as much as the end. The first thing that went wrong was not letting Collins grow up as a child and then a teenager.
Welcome to the Unspoken Podcast, your go-to space for deep, unfiltered conversations about sexual, reproductive, and family health. And it's brought to you by Free Tribe Network. And yes, we have Mr. Caleb Arudu, a father and a mentor to several young men. We are so glad to have you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so on this episode, we'll be going through several topics that affect men, and we would love to hear you share with us different aspects concerning men. So can you just tell us a bit about mentoring young men? Can you just tell us a bit about mentoring young men?
Okay, that for me comes, with I think different stories, approaches, perspective, inspiration. It varies, but I feel that over the years, my life has been the mirror. So the things I couldn't overcome, the challenges I couldn't overcome, the hurdles I had to cross, the places I fell, and the slippery slopes I, experienced. I sort of use that experience as a flag banner to say, hey, you don't need another example. I'm enough example. People say that the best form of knowledge is to learn from people's experience. Don't wait to have a negative experience before you actually take on alignment, on a positive path. So I think my journey with young men, it's been a journey of being vulnerable, being sincere, being honest, being real, being human, appreciating their personal experiences and trying to see how to also attend to them on a personal level to make sure that they don't become like me, but they become a better version of what they are supposed to be. So that's been the journey.
Wow, amazing. One thing I picked is what you do is you model for them not to repeat several mistakes that are common to young people, right? So you tell them, hey, I've been there, I've done that. So I can tell you for a truth that there is no way there. You have to make a U-turn, things like that. That's so impressive, not living for yourself alone. Thank you for being here once more. We are really grateful.
Thank you for having me.
So we have several things that we want to discuss on today's episode, and we would like to know your takes on it. We would like to hear from you. In today's episode, is special to us because we are celebrating International Men's Day. Yay! Finally, we get to celebrate the men once in a year. Amazing.
I just have a very fair question. How many Women's Day did people say have for the rest of the year?
Well, I think about a couple of 5s.
It's a woman's world now. It's the bias that it's a man's world. I think that narrative is shifting. It's a woman's world now.
Well, all thanks to us and everyone that gave us the days. Okay, so we are celebrating International Men's Day, and our theme for today is Pillars of Strength, a man's story as we dive into victories, struggles, and unique qualities of men. Their struggles and the unique qualities of men, right? Especially the Nigerian men. All right. So today we are considering pillars of strength, And to start off, can you let us know what is strength in a man's perspective? From a man's perspective, right? What will you term strength?
Responsibility.
Responsibility?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
strength. Pillar. And pillar here is there's something I call predictable competence.
Okay.
You just know. A man sees himself from a place of strength when he's always at that optimal level of function, delivery. If you come to him for something, you should count on getting results. So strength for a man is result orientation. So in whatever frame I am, in whatever place I'm at, emotionally, physically, I always want to deliver. I always want to show up. I always want to be that point of reference for my significant others and then the people that are looking up to me. So that's strength. That's what I think strength is for me.
Yeah, one word that was on my mind while you spoke initially was showing up, right? Because every time I could remember, I still have contact with my dad, but I can remember when I was still in the uni, whenever I put a call through to my dad, the first thing that he's asking is, what do you need? It got me offended at some point, but when I got to understand that is a man's world, like they always want to show up, they want to get the job done. Like, what is the issue? Let's fix it. Right? So I can really relate with what you're saying.
The concept of security for a man is human resource management.
Human resource HR.
Yeah, no, the man is a HR in life. That's the way we operate. We try to see that we have resources available to power the human beings in our lives, to power their possibilities. So we feel less of ourselves when we think that we are not enough support or providing enough resource to help those that God situation has placed around us and looking up to us to deliver at a certain level. So we are that frequency of organization and operation to see that everything is in order. That man is controlled.
Okay, but can you say, like, with your interaction with young men, can you say they understand this context of strength, this context of showing up responsibility? Because you see a lot of young men that you're wondering, did you have a father at home to model for you to see that at this age or at this level you are at, you should be doing certain things. You shouldn't be doing certain things. Because there are some things that when someone tells you that this is wrong, you feel offended. But when you know that this is wrong and you are not doing it by the reason of your level, it's an addition to you. So can you say that young men, most young men that you've interacted with, right? Can you say young men understand or have the right perspective to strength, showing up responsibility?
I think the answer to that would be two-way.
Okay.
It's a two-way street here. The first question to ask is, who is the man's man?
Okay.
Who is a young man's man?
Man.
Because no man grows into the consciousness of manhood without a similitude or a direct reference of what manhood should be or is. Directly or indirectly, man learns manhood. So if there's no standard structure of a man, and respectfully, the society we found ourselves, we have a shrewd perspective of manhood. Manhood is summarized into this patriarchal bias. So we misplace control for abuse. We misplace manipulation for being in charge. So most of the men we have in society, in the home front, are manipulative, have inferiority complex. They are leaders that are not leading themselves and can lead other people. And a boy grows observing. And the truth is, the stage of growth for a child from age 0 to probably 15 is where the father has the opportunity to be the coach. The coach tells the player, sit down, tells a player you don't have play time, you have to be on this diet. You control literally the entire framework of that person because you want that player to perform at a certain level. You can control. But most men in the formative stage of the young boy's life are absent. And the truth is, the quota a woman brings into a child is a quota of love, unconditional love. The quota a man brings into a child's life is order. So if that order is missing and that boy grows up, he gets to pick up standard of manhood from society, external perception, worldview. And the world that we live in today, respectfully, is not where you want to practically position a child or a boy to pick stuff from social media on how to be a man. So from common societal parlance now, what manhood is about is show of wealth. Doesn't matter how it's gotten. There's no system of delayed gratification. All I want to do is to deliver. But actual manhood is the process counts as much as the end. True manhood is the means is also the end. And it starts from an origin, and that's birthed from balanced home front, father figure, male figure. So I'm just saying this to every man out there. You have a responsibility to modeling responsibility to the next young boy around you, because whether you like it or not, you are a part and parcel of the ingredient that makes up what we see today as the dysfunctional man out there or the functional man out there.
Thank you very much. There's a question I want to ask, but I would ask that after reading someone's story.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Right? So there is a guy, Collins, who lost his father at a young age. And from that moment, he became the man of the house.
Oh, yeah.
A typical Nigerian home, right? Taking on responsibilities of looking after his mother, his older sister, and his younger sister. In the university, he met Cynthia. They grew close, and friendship soon blossomed into something deeper. Though they never officially became a couple, they both had serious intentions towards each other. However, Cynthia wants to settle down early, while Collins knew he couldn't commit to marriage anytime soon. His father was his first priority, so before things got any more serious, Collins made the difficult decision to end it, choosing his family over his love. Okay, so now to my question. I think there are two questions, actually. There are two questions. Firstly, in this situation, right, there was really no man, because you said the male folks, they learn by observing, having a model, and that's the role a father plays at the home front. So in this situation of Collins, right, he didn't have a father figure to model things to him, not because the father left, the father died, right? So there are people out there that are like Collins. What would you advise them? Because whether the father is present by death or by every other factor that made the father to be absent, right? They have a life to face. So what would you advise them, those that don't have a father figure, be it an absentee father or the father pastor? What would you advise what would you advise them to do? What's your take on that? Like,
so okay, I think I'm also typical Collins.
Oh.
Yeah, I lost my dad when I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, literally I lost my dad when I was 6 years old. And I had to grow up fast. And that's the error our society is making. The first thing that went wrong was not letting Collins grow up as a child. And then a teenager, then an adolescent, a teenager, and then growing into a youth.
Yeah.
And so growing, we see there's a formation process for every human being. And if you jump classes, there will always be backlashes in the future.
Yeah.
It's either their response to the situation will be to take flight, feigning ignorance, inferiority complex, hostility, abuse, anger, lack of patience. the past will always haunt. So when you approach them with situation, they become aggressive. That instant response is backlog of burden. So I'm saying that if you have that kind of scenario, the first thing to do is don't start preaching to the young boy. You are now the man of the house.
You're the man of
he's
the
not
house.
the man of the house.
That's typical.
No, he's the son of the house. He's not the man yet. Don't put ideas into his head to start going to the future to do what he's supposed to do much later today. Give him time to grow into manhood. Because if he starts to take on responsibility as a child, he would implement responsibility as a child. That's why he ran out of a committed relationship. And we need to understand something. The child can never be the parent.
True.
I tried doing this as a kid and my mother beat the hell out of me. I was 7 years old and then we couldn't pay school fees at some point. And me and my kid sisters, that was never a narrative, but my mom was quite young when she lost my dad. And she was just a young nurse, earning barely 20,000 naira. And this was in like the very early, late 90s, like into the 2000s. And then there was one day we left school, chased home for school fees, couldn't pay. And then I told my sisters, let's not go to my mother's office, let's go home. And then my mom came back home and she saw us at home. Why are you guys home early? And I told them that we would tell her that we were on meet and break.
Oh, but why?
I didn't want her. I was the man of the house.
Man of the house. So
I didn't want her to feel bad. I didn't want her to feel pressured. I wanted her to come at her own pace when she had the resource or she had what it took to, pay fees. For 2 weeks we were at home.
2 weeks meet and break.
My mother was now surprised. Why are people still at home? Then one day she bumped into my principal's wife in the market.
Whoa. And
the big-mouthed woman busted me like, Mrs. Cecilia, why are your children not back in school now? Even if it's the school fees, we can make a concession because people have been paid.
Madam, can you keep quiet?
My mother came back home. She was beating the fear of God into me and she was crying at the same time because she knew where that was coming from. And when she was done, she said, Caleb, you are the child, I'm the adult. So I put it to every parent out there, father, mother, it's important that you let your children grow.
Let them grow.
Don't sell that consciousness. That's how we built the narrative that says, man up, men don't cry.
Men don't cry. Yet they go
that's
through
why we have
lot.
That implosive experience that men don't express themselves. Because from that childhood, with that mentality, you are a boy, you shouldn't be this to your sister. You are a boy, the boys take the lead, the boys eat first, the girls eat later.
As a man, you are crying.
This subtle inflation, that's what has brought us to this point. So Collins would have, his future would have been preserved, or he would have stepped into manhood valiantly if we let him grow up. Then another thing is, you see, for young boys, one of the things God helped me to just augment the gap of the father, because that gap can't be filled by any other person.
Yes.
Was that I also embraced mentorship early.
Yeah.
At the age of 10, going to secondary school, I just knew that going back home was not the way forward all the time. So I was able to, or rather God just surrounded people, strong men, good character, good track record around me, and I opened myself up to them. So it's one thing for God to bring help, it's one thing for you to accept the help. So I became vulnerable around these father figures. They saw me as a son. And so I'm a community kid. So diverse graces and virtue was poured into me. And that's why I became mature on time. One of the things I also think young boys in this condition should do is to have more friends that are older than them. Don't be saturated with friends your cycle or age and peers. You don't need that at that level. You can have them around you, but you need people that have gone ahead of you as hand holders, because they will have a soft landing called the father and the family. You won't have that. So if they run into trouble, there's an escape. If you get into the same trouble, the collateral damage for you will be extreme.
True.
You might not have a lifeline to just do damage control and then you proceed into life and then do things valiantly and just act like nothing went wrong. So you don't have the luxury of risk taking uncalculated risk. So from the age of 10, 11, if you can hear me, start looking out for mentors.
Mentorship.
A pastor, a leader, an influential person.
With good character.
Good character is critical. It's critical. I'm not saying mentor by title, mentor by performance and commitment. Someone that's committed to you.
That has a track record.
Exactly. As much as you're committed to the person. Not role models. Because you sit down in the comfort of your house and you want to be like Davido. That's not a mentor. You want to be like TD Jakes. That's not a mentor. That's a role model. A mentor is invasive. He's into your space. He can call you to order. He can say, don't travel. I had a lot of experiences like that. I'll want to travel for a program, for a meeting, and I'll let my mentor know, and he says, you can't go now. It's early exposure for you. You cannot manage the outcome of this kind of event. And all I'm seeing is the output, like this is going to be incredible. And I'm giving him points. This will come out, this will happen, my advantage, resources, alignment. I'm going to do this. When I'm done talking, say, Caleb, are you done? The school of life. Once I hear that statement, the school of life. It's like my ego is deflated and then I listen. And you know that at the end of the day, every single thing he told me not to do, anytime I err, I always see the repercussion at the end of the day. So you need people that have traveled this road.
That path.
Yes.
And can now say, don't.
So for every callings out there, I think that's the way to go.
So mentorship is a major one. If you're a callings, right? Like the story we read, if you're a callings, mentorship is a major one you shouldn't take lightly.
Yeah.
Which makes me to really appreciate what you do for young men, right? It's something I'm quite passionate about as well. Like for children, that's the reason why we have adults, right? I feel like if there was no need for adults, everyone would just die after being a child.
Yeah.
But we have adults, so it puts us at a place of advantage that you've not been there, this person has been there. Why not just reach out and get counsel?
The reason we don't die or have the same lifespan like animals is because God has a continuity plan in place. There's something called sustainability when it comes to destiny and when it comes to life.
True.
And a typical scenario is if you're traveling in the night and you don't have headlamps, and there's a vehicle in front of you that has good headlights, what do you do when you're driving behind that person? Do you overtake the person?
No, you follow.
You follow. That's the way it is. Life is there's always that uncertainty about tomorrow.
True.
But it becomes certain how to approach tomorrow when you see and follow people that have entered your tomorrow. So always be in today, but latch on people that have gone into tomorrow. So hold the helm of your garment and make sure, and then be around people that are truthful. Don't be around people that have this superiority complex of I have everything figured out. That's danger lurking. Any man that cannot tell you where he failed is not a mentor. Any man that cannot tell you I got it wrong here is not a mentor. I'm more open to people that tell me about their mistakes, and I respect them, and I tell myself, knowledge is a two-edged sword. You learn what to be and what not to be. So when I'm around my mentors, I look out for two things. What did they do wrong and what did they do right? What you did wrong, I won't do wrong. So I have two rights, and then I run with it. That's how we can actually overtake them and do more than they've done. So that's a better, safer approach to mentorship.
Thank you very much, very much. Really appreciate your take on that. So, be in your today while you latch on those that are already in your future, in your tomorrow. Okay? Yeah, to my second question. So, is sacrifice part of being a man? Is it a show of strength to always choose responsibility?
That's what manhood is about. Sacrifice is manhood. That's the synonym for manhood. Is sacrifice. It's
sacrifice.
Yes, you can't put manhood aside sacrifice. A man gives and does not expect in return. A man is a defender, a provider, a teacher, a let me use the word for lack of words. he's in charge of supplying nutrient. You are a shepherd. You water the pasture and you tend the sheep. With all that I've said now, there's nothing coming back to him as an instant reward. It's sacrifice. The only reward is the outcome of your sheep at the end of the day. God put man in this space, or man is in this space, to ensure continuity, to ensure sustainability, to ensure preservation of a legacy, of a vision, of destiny, of a dream, of an institution, and all that is done by sacrifice. Man was made in the framework of operation, and that operation is powered by sacrifice.
Okay, so speaking about sacrifice, right? You're a father, you're a husband. How do you refresh? Because I know sacrifice can take a lot from a man, right? And most of the time, men, they kind of hide their feelings. You don't necessarily see what they are going through. It's all up in their head, right? So how do you refresh, for lack of word? How do you refresh? How do you feel good? How do you get yourself back to the running state when you feel like maybe you've sacrificed to a point where you're burnt out? You're a human being, right? You're obviously not a robot, so you're burnt out. How do you refresh as a man?
I refresh by counting my blessings.
Okay.
I think men should just, take a breather.
Take a pause.
Just take a pause from the entire scenery. Just come out of the picture and see what you've been able to do. Most times our pursuit is because of that unconscious reminder that we've not done enough. I'm not saying settling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying mediocrity. I'm just saying sometimes pause.
So relax.
And be grateful.
And count
There's
your
so much
blessings.
of energy release that comes at the place of gratitude. You are still. And then you can see things for what they really are. You can appreciate where you're coming from. There's a way that your journey, you settle down and look at, just in retrospect, what the miles you've covered in 5 years is enough strength to pursue another 5 years in front of you. But once we are invested in the race, we become exhausted. So sometimes sit back and just enjoy what you've been able to achieve. Even if you don't have physical things to show for it, your stamina and tenacity to still be standing through the uncertainty, the thick and the thin, the resilience, that alone in itself is result. Staying for a man is a result. Holding on for a man is result. So it's not just about the material things. And you see, we are always, found wanting where we assess our success as men based on tangible things. They are the intangible things. And those intangible things power tangible things. So I think gratitude for me is one way that I really refresh. And I also think men should have a spiritual routine. I don't want to go all religious and all of that for the sake of our diverse audience and all, but every man, it's even in psychology, in mental health support, you must have a meditation routine. Let me use the word meditation. You must have a meditation routine. When you always jump at action, the burnout is faster.
Yeah.
But when you leap from a place of rest and stillness, you are able to run longer. So meditation is key. Gratitude is key.
Then do you have like a community, like friends that...
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. That's very important. In my life, I have my relationships in stratas.
Okay.
I have people that look up to me. I have people that look up with me.
Okay.
And I have people that I look up to.
Okay.
So when I'm there at that place where I'm going to experience a burnout, I don't talk to people that are looking up to me, because they will keep looking up to you. I talk to people looking up with me. and then I talk to people that I'm looking up to. So those looking up with me, we are sharing almost similar struggles. I can just call my friend, I'm like, bruh, man, it's getting tight. And then he says, bruh, it's also tight at my end.
At my end, we are in this together.
That statement is reassurance.
Yes.
What the women folks call affirmation.
Yeah.
Men don't get affirmation from their women. We get affirmation from our men folk.
Bro code.
So it's important that you surround yourself with people that are like-minded.
True.
That are pursuing the same
goal.
So that at the end of the day, we are sharing risk and we are sharing benefits.
True.
So your relationship should be approached as business partnerships. You come to the table, my friend IK knows, my best friend Ezekiel Chikonoha, we have a contract in our friendship. The day you start to retrogress without a reason, the next person is going already. So, but that we cry on each other's shoulders, that is for certain. There are days he calls me like, Caleb, I want to rant. I have issues. Things are not going fine. And all I do is listen. I don't counsel, I don't advise. Because there's nothing I have to say to him that he does not know. In that moment, the strength he needs is a still place to talk to. That just express yourself. So you need that circle of support around you that will just keep you going.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Caleb. We really appreciate all the ideas that you've been giving us, come from a place of stillness, from a place of rest. That alone is, even if I'm not a man, right? I have one or two things to pick from the conversation that we've had so far. Yeah. So I'm moving on to the next story, right? Chief Obafemi Awolowo lost his father when he was just 7 years old. I think close to what you said. When he was just 7 years old, leaving him as the primary support for his mother and siblings. Growing up in poverty, Awolowo took on various jobs, from farming to clerical work, to help his family survive. His dream was to get a good education, but his family's needs always came first. Through years of hard work and sacrifice, he eventually saved enough money to attend school. As he rose in his career, his commitment to serving others never wavered. Awolowo entered politics with a vision for Nigeria, making personal sacrifices to implement policies that improved education, healthcare, social welfare for the people. His introduction to free education in Western Nigeria transformed countless lives, reflecting his deep-rooted belief in the power of knowledge and progress for all. Awolowo's life is a powerful example of a man who balanced personal aspirations with responsibility, choosing to uplift his family and his community. So, in the spirit of celebrating men, what is the moment or what is that moment or achievement that stands out where you felt especially where you felt proud of yourself? What was that moment? Maybe you did something, or for Chief Awolowo, right? He helped his family as well as the community. That was his aspiration. It wasn't just all about himself, right? So for you, at what point were you so impressed with yourself? I did well. Something like that.
Okay, I think for me, fulfillment for me in this regard has not been an event. It's been a lot of. So let me just give typical examples.
Okay.
For my mom, let me start from my mom.
Okay.
So it's family. For my mom, there was a day she walked into the government house in Benue.
Okay.
And she wanted to do something. And there was a bit of bottleneck here and there. She wasn't getting access. Okay. And then a senior friend of mine that knows we've had dealings together over time. And then he said, "Are you Caleb's mother?"
Oh.
And she said, "Yes." And then he said, "What are you people doing here?" "He's my friend's mother." And then he took her out of that space and made sure that there was a chaperone that helped her do everything that she wanted to do. And then she sent me a message and said, "Caleb, thank you for being a good son."
Oh my my God. Like right
And
now, I
she
feel
said-
like a proud mom.
And she said, because of you today, I was able to overcome this, get around this hassle and all that. Another proud moment for me, my siblings. My little sister, she was 1 year old when my father died.
Oh.
Yeah, and we grew up together. And while growing up, I didn't have the resource to give them money, be an awolo and all of that stuff, but one capital I knew I could leverage on for them was reputation capital. They had to see me drive and push against all odds, and that alone was enough inspiration for them to also go through life without so much external support, external validation. So when she was in the university, all my friends became her friend. All my friends became her friend because they knew Caleb. So there was no time she was lacking anything. There was no time she needed support. She wanted to go for IT. Caleb, your sister needs to go for IT. Tell her to send me a letter. Your sister needs to do this. Tell her to do this.
Social capital.
Social capital. So she didn't need anything. My mom didn't pay nothing for her to go through school. She just completed a master's degree in architecture.
Wow.
Social capital. And every time she comes back to say, thank you so much, bro. Because of you, this. Help me thank your friend. Help me thank this person. Help me thank this person. So opening the door for those coming behind me has been my proudest moment. For my family, every now and then my wife would just send me a message and say, Caleb, thank you for going the extra mile for us. Those are my proud moments. That I'm able to open the door for another young person. That I'm able to be an inspiration for those that have gone ahead of me. Those are my proud moments. So that for me is what defines satisfaction as a man.
Which goes to say, like, community is very essential for a man.
It is.
Because even if you didn't have it to give them, by the reason of you having friends that had it.
Yes.
The issue is every need was met, right? Yeah, it was met. And you were like the channel through which it was met. Yeah. Wow. I'm proud as well. I'm just wondering how proud your siblings will be of you, right? And I know it must be so much of a blessing. Like, they will always be proud. They will be so proud to say my brother almost like they know somebody. I know my gender. They'll be like, let me just call my brother.
Oh, that's typical. No, that's my reality.
It's my gender. I know. We don't celebrate Women's Day 5 times for nothing. Okay? So thank you very much for sharing with us. And I'm very sure that your mom would have gone back and said, even if my husband is no more here, thank you. Like, she'll be so grateful that she has a son that she can be proud of as well. A son that just his name alone, he wasn't there, right? His name was able to pave way for her.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing with us once more.
Pleasure.
So now, we all know Nigerian men are not shy, right? But then...
Sorry, go back and just say that again.
Okay. I said, we know that Nigerian men
are not trying.
Are not shy.
Shy, okay. I thought I heard we're not trying.
No.
This podcast was going to take a different turn.
No, I'm not talking of Lagos men.
Oh, it's going to go. Oh, now you're being okay.
Oh no.
Let's one violence.
No. Let's stick with this script. Let's stick with this script. Sorry. I didn't know. Okay, so we know that Nigerian men are not shy, yeah. But then, what makes Nigerian men unique? Like, what would you say is the strength of a typical Nigerian man?
Ownership.
Okay.
We don't share anything. Not blames, not victory, not defeat. We own everything. We own our part. It's a weakness, it's strength. is strength because you can count. I was talking about predictable competence earlier.
Okay.
That you know that this person will deliver. But it becomes weakness because the person carries beyond what he can shoulder, which is what, one of the major causes of mental health in men. You understand what I'm saying? And it's proven that more men are suicidal than women.
Yeah.
And it's from this dimension. Let me just quickly read, I was just going through some data. It said men account for 75 to 80% of deaths by suicide.
I think I heard that.
And to blow your mind, in Canada, men account for 3 out of every 4 suicides.
Oh, wow.
Roughly 8 men take their lives every day, amounting to 3,000 deaths per year. In Canada, in the UK, in England and Wales, men die by suicide at a rate 3 times more often than women. Nearly 12 men lose their lives to suicide every day, or approximately 4,200 suicides each year. In the United States of America, the suicide rate amongst the male is 4 times higher than that of females. Male deaths represent 79% of suicides, amounting to roughly 100 men dying by suicide every day. I don't want to have the conversation about Nigeria because we don't have data, so let's not even go there. But the truth is, this is the downside for the man. That we own does not mean we can't share. Sharing is not your responsibility, but the weight. Just talking about it
the burden.
Just talking about it sometime. And I think we should become more receptive. We should create more ventilation. We should create more room for men to make excuses, to fail.
Okay. Yeah.
Just allow men fail. Let it be normal for a man to be able to fail and get away with it, and not be judged that he's incompetent. You can't provide for your family. You can't be there for them. You can't do this. You can't do that. So this bias keeps us enclosed. So we rather fail in, we die in, we implode. And at the end of the day, they said he just died of a brief illness. The man went to bed and did not wake up. There was no sign of anything. No, there were signs. But it was not manifested.
Just internalized.
We don't manifest. We create from inside. The women can manifest. And you can understand. But men don't manifest. We drive from inside. So I think our society should be more open to men. We have more women conferences. When last did you see a man's conference? The bias is both in knowledge. The bias is both in opportunity to develop capacity. The bias is just there. In churches, you have more women-oriented meetings than men-oriented meetings. Even in our government, you have the Ministry of Women Affairs.
Yeah.
Do you have the Ministry of Men's Affairs? Men, we are just left to sort our affairs. But we have institutional support for women. So where do you want to start from? The bias and the odds are stacked against us. So we have to deal with these things by ourselves any way possible. So I think we need to create more structural support for men out there to cushion the effect of life's pressure. Yeah, so and to add to what I was saying, you see, when men don't find healthy platforms to express disappointment, to release pressure, they now take on negative vices because they are alone with
by themselves.
No, they are alone with objects. Alcohol, a bottle of alcohol is not a living thing.
True.
Smoking a cigarette is not a living thing, but it shows you the extent that we go to still be alone to sort out life by ourselves. So we look out for things that will not help us to help us. But we are still shutting out the world, because if you see me with a bottle of alcohol, you don't want to have a conversation with me. If you see me smoking, so we are already using vices to still cut out the world away from us, because we are not used to opening ourselves or to be vulnerable because we might be judged. The prejudice against us is extreme. So we take on vices like, alcohol, smoking, sex. So these things are just mediums of venting but it is wrong, and it has led to substance abuse, and it is damaging. It's damaging and depleting the value of manhood, reducing lifespan, life expectancy. It's mind-blowing what's going on in the man's world. It's not all pomp and pageantry. It's not fun. It's not just fun. But men are saying, you know what, I'd rather die alone in this
than open up.
And then you see that respectfully, the women folk don't even help because they are reactive in their help. You don't reply problem with aggression. You don't respond to I don't know. You don't respond. A man can't tell you I'm confused. There are most times once we are still, it means we don't know what else to do. In that stillness, and you hear a woman bickering and saying your mates are, and you are here. What will you? You are not saying anything about it. You are not doing anything about it. You don't care about it. I'm saying something. Can't you hear what I'm saying? Can't you see Can't you see the pressure? The kids are not. He's saying it. He's not saying anything because he can't do anything about it.
At the moment.
In that moment, the woman should be what God designed her to be. Help. Help is administrating his thought processes to say, you know what, this thing won't overwhelm you. It won't swallow you. Be still. Give it a break. Give it some time. Let me be your windfall. That's where that support structure comes in. Either as a woman or family, that support structure must be there for a man to have windfall. That he's not going through problems alone and trying to sort out life all by himself. So I think that's very important.
So please, all the women out there, all the females, please be a support system for the men in your life. It doesn't have to be your husband alone.
The 5 love languages that the people rope around our neck. That we must, it's a script. Affirmation, communication, body touch, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Can you guys flip the script and do that for the men folk? We also want affirmation. We do. We want communication, but not in your structure of communication. Yeah, your communication is respectfully garbage in, garbage out. You're saying things, you're not communicating things.
I would say everyone.
Not a lot of women.
I think that's because women, female folks, we interpret things primarily from emotions.
Okay, no, this is not the conversation about the man.
Yeah.
So let's not divert. All I'm saying is whether you're a woman or any support structure around the man, it's important that we check in on the men. If you ask the men, go through our phones and see. People don't ask you how are you. The moment you say hi, billing.
Chim.
The moment you see hi, I'm in distress. The moment you see hi, urgent.
Okay.
The moment you see hello. So my phone is permanently on silence. Because sometimes the rate of phone calls just gives me palpitation. Like let's breathe. Let the men breathe.
Let them breathe.
Let's breathe.
Okay, thank you very, very, very much. It has been a very nice one having you.
Thank you,
We really appreciate all the context you brought to the table in this episode. So for a rounding up note, what would you like to tell the male folks out there? Being that it's International Men's Day we are celebrating, what would you like to advise them, the younger ones, the one of your demographic? What would you like to tell them?
Another thing that I want to say to the men out there is to ensure that you have an accountability system over you. You are not designed to do life alone. And it's important that you have people that speak over you, that vet your processes, that vet your intentions. You must reduce your error margins in life. And the only way that's possible is that you have people that you are directly accountable to, both in your marriage, and accountability structures vary. You don't just get one person that, has the entire competence required. You have mentors for your marriage, you have mentors for your business, you have mentors for your career, you have mentors for just about everything. Yeah. Your health, you have mentors for. So you cannot work, we can no longer work in silos. We need partnerships. you know, at you know, to really, really live optimal lives. So please, don't do life alone. It wasn't designed to be done alone. And don't make excuses. There's always a way around things. Stop making excuses. Be better. Take your health seriously. Take your family seriously. Avoid complacency. Be selective in your cycle of influence. Be very particular about relationships, because life, virtue, and wickedness, it's a flow. It's like a river. You know, no, sincerely, it's like a river. If you're around good people, it flows.
It flows.
If
true.
you're around people that are visionaries, it flows. If you're around people that just see life as mediocres and subsistent way of life, it flows to you. So drive is contagious. Vision is contagious.
True.
Power is contagious. Consistency is contagious. Faithfulness is contagious.
True.
If you're around people that cheat on their spouses, in no distant time, you start to adapt their excuses and their way of life. And before you know, it becomes your reality. So it's important that you surround yourself with people that look like, and not just look like, that are actually going in your destination and going in your direction. And I think with this set of guides and principles or structures around you, you would really be the ideal model man.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate all the insights that you brought to this episode. And that's it for today's episode on the Unspoken Podcast. Remember, this is just a conversation starter. The conversation goes on. And this episode is brought to you by the Free Tribe Network in partnership with Hasey. Please do well to follow us on all our social media handles at Free Tribe Network. On YouTube, subscribe. Please do subscribe. And on our Instagram.
It's free.
Yeah.
Let them
Please
know.
Subscribe. It's
Nigerians
free.
have trust issues. The moment they see
to
subscribe,
Thank
they think
you.
you're paying something. Subscription is free.
It's free.
It's very free.
It's just a red button.
That is free.
That is free for you.
Yeah.
It can also be free for you. So thank you very much. And that'll be it. So we come again. Bye.